Today, we're talking about a very important and very powerful topic: suicide. If you are having suicidal thoughts or you feel that you are actively suicidal at this time, please immediately dial 988. That will connect you with the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and you'll be able to speak with a counselor. Again, that number is 988 because you're too valuable to lose. And for those of you who were able to stay with me, welcome everyone. I am so delighted that you're here. Yes, we are going to talk about a very powerful topic right now, and that is suicide awareness and prevention. We're going to take a look at what suicide is, how it differs from depression, what you can do to prevent it, and who in the angelic realm can help. It's so important that we understand that no matter what we're going through, there is an answer, there's help, there is a solution. You are not on your own or without anybody that cares. Even if you have no one in your physical sphere with you, the angelic realm, all of the beings in the energetic realm who are aligned with God are absolutely 100% on your side. You just need to know how to contact them and how to receive answers so that you'll be able to really get their support and feel their love. So let's talk about suicide. As I said, suicide number is 988. That's going to connect you free of charge to a counselor that can help you understand that you are a valuable being and you are worthy. But suicide is when a death is caused by injuring oneself with the intent to die. So you are actively engaging in an activity that you are hoping will end your life. A suicide attempt would be when you engage in that activity, but you are not successful at dying or completing the activity. Death is not your end result. You actually survive. And suicidal thoughts or ideation is when you are thinking about or planning to commit suicide. This could be thinking about all of the different methods that you could use, all the way up to gathering the materials. If you are in any one of these phases, 988, that is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Now, as always, I am so grateful you're all here, and I welcome your comments and your concerns and your questions. But please, no shame or condemnation, no matter what someone may post in the comments. This is a place to uplift and inspire, not to shame or blame. So thank you for that. And as always, I appreciate everything that you are doing to make this channel even more powerful. So back to suicide. Let's understand that suicide is a leading cause of death. It is not something that needs to just go in the back corner and never be examined. It is a leading cause of death. 12.2 million Americans seriously thought about suicide in 2020. We are failing as a country. If 12.2 people feel so lost and alone that they are seriously considering suicide, we've got to do better, and we can do better. We can do better by getting this information out to everyone who needs to hear it. Out of those 12.2, 3.2 planned a suicide attempt. They didn't necessarily go through with it, but they planned it. 1.2, and this is million, attempted it. And of the ones that attempted suicide, almost half of them were successful. We are experiencing one death every 11 minutes. We can do better. We can help people understand they are valuable and that they will be missed. But in order to do that, we really need to understand what suicide is, how we get there, and then, of course, the most important thing is how do we get from that dark place back into the light? Oh, and Evan is giving us the website for the National Suicide Prevention Line. Evan, if you can, would you post that website for us as well? But 988 will get you there immediately. And the website is for the National Suicide Prevention Association. And Evan's going to get that for us and put it in the chat. So let's now take a look at depression, because sometimes, not always, but oftentimes depression will be the forerunner. Depression will slide down the hill into suicide. And the reason that I say not always is because depression can be an ongoing situation that doesn't escalate beyond that, or it can grab hold of you and move you into that place of suicide. Depression is a mood disorder. It is feelings of sadness, loss, and anger, and it will interfere with your daily life. You are not going to be able to feel as though you have the energy or the motivation to get the things done that are important for you to accomplish. It starts wearing away at your belief in your value and your belief that you are worthy. And it is a constant state of feeling blue or feeling stuck. Depression, when you look at it energetically, often appears to be sort of a dark cloud. I think it was Pigpen in Charlie Brown was the character that had that dark cloud sort of always hanging over them. If you look at someone who is depressed in their energetic state, you will see that sort of dark cloud. However, if you look at someone who is actively entertaining thoughts of suicide, you're going to see something a little bit different. And that is, you're going to, in the energetic realm, you're going to see that it is almost as though the person who is thinking about suicide is accompanied by a dark energy. The depression is a dark cloud, it's sort of enveloping the person. Suicide takes it so much further, and this is why it is so much more difficult to move forward from suicide than to move forward from depression. Suicide actively engages a negative energy. I don't like to use the word demonic, but I've got to say, in this particular case, it is almost as though a demonic energy has been given access to you through that long slide down into negativity. And because this is an energy that is not of that high vibration of the divine, it will come in and take control. It takes over your life. It takes over your thinking, and it is not got your highest good in mind. Its sole purpose is to try to destroy you. This is why you need to reach out for help, either through that hotline or in another way. However, suicide can be prevented, and there are many warning signs. And these are from the National Institute of Mental Health. So if you see or hear someone talking about killing themselves and using words like, I'm feeling empty, I'm feeling hopeless, trapped, there's no solution, I'm having unbearable emotional or physical pain, and I feel as though I am a burden. This is not a person that's just dealing with depression. This sounds like a person who is being egged on by this negative spirit and is beginning to believe this negative conversation that this energy is sharing, so that the person is sliding deeper and deeper into that place where they truly are unable to identify themselves as worthy or valuable. And this is when you have to encourage them to get help. You will also notice that the person, and if this describes you, you must get help. Don't depend on somebody outside of you seeing these signs. You are too valuable. You absolutely make a difference, and you matter. You are worth rescuing. You may see that they or you are withdrawing from family or friends. Perhaps they begin giving away important possessions and doing things like saying goodbye to family and friends, or putting their affairs in order, for instance, a will, or they begin taking great risks. So they would begin engaging in activities that would have a high death potential. And they begin talking about, and almost incessantly talking about, wanting to die. This is not an act. This is not somebody just trying to get attention. This is somebody who is under tremendous strain, is feeling isolated, cut off, and absolutely worthless. And they need to know they are worthy, and they need to know that resource, that 988 number, can help. These are trained counselors who are willing to listen and to help you make sense of how you've gotten there. Now, let's look at this spiritual aspect of suicide a little more deeply. First of all, we need to understand the truth. I know there are many, many, many teachings that are going to disagree with what I'm about to tell you, but understand that I am sharing with you information that has been shared with me directly from the divine. I am not using someone else's information. This is direct. And if this information is correct, you will feel a sense of well being in your heart. You won't feel like you need to defend against it or tense up. So don't trust me. Hang on, we have a problem here. Oh, we're back. It's telling me my connection is unstable. Please hang on. Evan, I see you. Okay. Evan has been there. He has called and got help. And those of you who don't know Evan, it would have been a tremendous loss. And Evan, you know, I tell you this all the time. He is a magnificent individual. It would have been a tremendous loss to the world if Evan was successful in a suicide attempt. I don't know who else is with us right now, but if you are feeling that you don't have anything to offer, please understand that is absolutely incorrect. You are valuable. Now, let's get some information straight about what happens if you are successful at suicide. First of all, you do not go to hell. Hell doesn't exist. Hell was created. Well, let me change that wording a little bit. Hell is something that was identified by the Jewish people, they called it Ghana, as a place for them to take those people who were deceased outside of their village. Now, remember, when we are talking about these terms and the fact that they are getting started, we are talking about a time when there's no sanitation, there's no preservation. Disease is rampant. There are no antibiotics. They must do everything they possibly can to protect those that are living because the mortality rate is so high from disease. So they took those folks who were deceased, not suicidal, just deceased, or perhaps suicidal as well. But they took the body that no longer held life and they placed it in a area outside of their village, far enough away from their village, so it couldn't cause contamination to the people that were living. And they called that place hell. I don't know how we got it all crazy and decided that this is a place where God sends those people who don't measure up. That is absolutely not true. If you were to commit suicide and you were successful, and that meant it resulted in your death, you would return to heaven. You would return to heaven. However, you may be placed in what is considered like a holding center, more like a hospital for your soul, because that event would have been very traumatic. So you would go to an intense area of unconditional love, and you would stay in that unconditional love center until you felt restored and renewed enough to go out into more of the general population or the general area of heaven. So please understand, God does not reject you because you committed suicide. You do hurt your soul by doing it. However, this is part of growing. This is part of understanding. This is part of becoming a more evolved physical being. And by this, I mean the mistake, and I consider suicide a mistake, the mistake of suicide, and therefore you will be provided with a place to heal within the heart of God. So understand too that superstition is created to answer the unknown. It's very scary if you have no science, if you have no factual evidence, and you have nothing backing up what you're thinking. It can be very scary. And so you will create rituals and superstitions and stories around what is happening to explain it to make yourself feel better. And so suicide, especially at a time when the death rate is already so high and the population is worried that are not going to be able to continue, suicide would be very, very, very frowned upon because they've only got a handful of people alive to begin with. And most of those people are not going to make it into their adult years because of the difficulty with disease. So there is no way they're going to support any kind of suicidal practice or thinking or anything in that direction. They're going to make it as taboo as they possibly can. And they are going to assign all sorts of fears to it and prohibitions to it to try to prevent people from thinking that it's okay. So they may tell you something like, oh, you're going to hell, just as a way to stop you from engaging. However, what you need to know is that everyone returns to heaven. It doesn't matter the method in which the death occurs, all beings return to heaven. Now, something that I think is very important for you to understand is if you are successful at suicide and you return to the heart of God, which is a given, you still have your life review. And within that life review, you get to see all that you accomplished and perhaps all of those other things that you didn't get to yet. And what I have learned is if you cut your life short with suicide, you will return to heaven and feel very unfinished. You're not going to feel guilty. You're not going to feel ashamed. You're not going to feel you're no good. You're just going to feel like, gosh, I'm not complete. I don't feel fulfilled. I didn't get to take my life journey all the way to the end. And so you will choose to have another life and you will encounter the same issue that defeated you the first time around. And you will do this until you gain mastery over it, not as punishment, but because it is your choice to feel good about you and to be able to learn that you are bigger than whatever this incident is that you're trying to work through. So if you believe that you're going to escape whatever you're wanting to escape through suicide, understand that when you return to heaven, you're going to change your mind and want to come back and interact with that exact same situation until you have mastery over it. But again, it is not punishment, it is choice because it feels good to uplift yourself, to rise above, to gain mastery over something that previously was defeating you. Oh, Audrey, you're such a love. Audrey says, I love you and your angels. It, gosh, guys, I know I say it again and again and again. I don't think living life is possible without an angelic assistance. It's absolutely not possible without the divine because the divine are allowing our autonomic nervous system to operate so that we can keep going. But the angels just fill in all of those little spaces when it gets so hard. So, as I said earlier, depression is that dark cloud, but darn, suicide is a dark, energetic spirit, a come in because you give it permission. It cannot come in without your permission. So you're slowly sliding down the chute from depression, sinking lower and lower and lower until the only things that you want to engage in become darker and darker and more sinister, and finally you're welcoming the company of these dark, negative, demonic energies, and they are absolutely going to encourage your you in harming yourself. They are malevolent force. There is no love in these beings. They are not part of the divine hierarchy. They are low level dark energies that are here to provide us contrast, to help us see what we do and don't want. They are giving us something to push against, but they are malevolent. They will encourage harm. They will glorify the result. They will plant these grandiose expectations in your mind. Oh, you're going to be so fabulous if you go forward with this. They will exaggerate what you are experiencing, all of your what's wrong, all of your I'm not good enough. They're going to exaggerate it. And remember, they have no conscience. So it's not going to like they're going to stop and say, "Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry I hurt your feelings." The minute they get an emotional reaction out of you, which of course, if you are down in that dark place, you are feeling pretty darn defenseless and powerless. And so they're going to be able to tap in and get you to react. And they are going to celebrate that by putting even more pressure on you to go through with the suicide. They will discourage you from reaching out for help. And they are dangerous because they are able to convince you that you are worthless. And worthless means that it would be easy to commit the suicidal act. Now, I got to tell you, as an empathic being, you probably have had thoughts of suicide. You are so overwhelmed by all of the thoughts of other people, all of the emotions, all of what goes into being a highly sensitive person. And without the training, without clearing and healing your heart, you may really feel just overwhelmed by this. The minute you start feeling that overwhelm, you need to reach out for help. Please don't let it get to the point where you are actively engaging with these dark entities. They are really hard to be released from. You will need professional help. Please reach out for it. Now, if you know someone who is, or if you yourself are suicidal, don't spend any time in the judgment zone. Just get help. You're worth it. You deserve happiness. Happiness is your birthright. And understand that the problem has become bigger than you are. This is not something that you can now solve on your own. Perhaps when it began, you could have solved it on your own. But for whatever reason, it doesn't matter how you got to this place. It only matters that you understand you are worth saving. The world will lose a valuable person if you are successful in your attempt. So dial 988 or on the internet. Oh, and Evan is also saying it. Evan, I'm going to ask you if you can get that suicide prevention website and put it in the chat for us too. Evan is also saying meditation really helped. First, and that is absolutely brilliant, but first, if you are so deep down in the darkness that you can't feel anything, I think you're going to need to speak to someone. I don't know that you're going to be able to successfully meditate without interference from this energy. Meditation is wonderful, but please get these thoughts out to a counselor who is trained, who can help you and will reflect back to you what you are saying and offer you suggestions, and yet point out to you why what you are saying is absolutely not true. Because you will be so lost in the story that you won't have any real awareness about what's true and what isn't true. You can reach out to a friend to support you, and that is good, but I really recommend that you get professional help. I don't know that a friend would have the understanding, nor would they ought to always have the time to be able to help you through this. And understand too, you might need medication. Now, I am not a huge fan of any kind of medication over the long term unless you have a real medical necessity. However, if medication can get you from the deepest, darkest night to a little glimmer of daylight, it will help you. It will provide a bridge. At some point, you're going to need to do the work to pull yourself back into the awareness of all that you are. And that's when meditation can be so powerful. But if you need medication to help you get there, don't say no. Use any tool that can help you. This is just too big and too serious to say, oh, I don't um, approve of medication. I'm not suggesting that you stay on medication for the rest of your life. I just want to make sure that you are here tomorrow and that you have an opportunity to really get to the end of this life journey and say, oh, that was great. I'm so glad I stayed. So it's nothing to be ashamed of, and you're definitely going to need some sort of support. Evan also tells us that he was on antidepressants and it was only for a short time, but it was helpful. Please don't turn down anything that could be helpful. Just do what you need to do. The most important thing is to get out of that dark cellar where that malevolent spirit has you locked down tight. And people can help, and medication may help. And then, after you're out of that place, then begin clearing and healing the heart, or try to clear and heal the heart even while you're in that dark place. It would really bring tremendous benefit. So, now what can we do about it if you are empathic and you are either suicidal yourself or you are around someone who is suicidal? And understand that your high sensitivity makes you a likely contender both to hear that someone is suicidal and to feel that you have not really shown that you're worth living. So don't get upset. Don't, oh, look at this. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Please don't go into the self condemnation space. Instead, stay in the place of, okay, I am recognizing